touchdown passes last year. This one's knocked up. Bowers tips it to himself, and he'll score.
Snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the last play this year. Here's a blitz, and Klubnik didn't see it coming. He got blasted by Kalen Deboer, who has the ball and is heading toward the end zone.
What is going on, everyone? It is episode 61 of College Football Talk. We are back here on don't know about where Dylan is, but in a chilly Gainesville, Florida here.
Chilly Orlando, Florida here.
Nice. So last little cool weather hurrah here in the state of Florida.
Yeah,
I do deeply miss it. I do miss it.
I don't know about you, man, but it was cold.
I love it.
It was cold.
It was down in the 30s here today, so I do quite enjoy it. I wish it was happening more often. I might be in the minority there, but it's good to be there. On this Wednesday night edition, College Football Talk, we got a good episode shaping up here for you guys tonight. A lot of coaching hirings going around.
Yep.
Transfer portal is just in full swing as it keeps up and is on a daily occurrence. Florida State doing a lot of good work there in the portal, speaking of the transfer portal. And we got some hot questions here. So we're going to get right into it with the second biggest story following our last episode last week when Nick Saban didn't get anything. He got retired, or he didn't got retired. He retired.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. But Kalen Deboer, Washington's head coach, takes over now in Tuscaloosa, where he will try to right this ship that is a mass exodus of just players flooding to the portal. We'll get to that in a little bit when we talk about all the players leaving from Washington and Alabama. But from just I think we were trying to get an idea of who we thought would be the next head coach for Alabama last week, and I think our main guy was going to be Dan Lanning, and then Dan Lanning comes out like the next day with this all-time video saying if you're worried about your coach leaving, come play with us. Yeah. Just mic drop moment right there. So he was gone. And then Mike Norvell got an extension. And then Steve Sarkisian either got paid or just said, I'm not doing it. Yeah. So which kind of left you with either Deboer or someone outside of that, maybe like Dabo or I don't even know, someone outside shot. But regardless, I think it was going to come down to Deboer, maybe Dabo, because who was the other guy? Kiffin was not interested either. Yep. Kind of figured that going in just because of the transfer portal activity that they doing, where they have a top 3 transfer portal class coming in with some big time names. So there's no point of him leaving. It just wouldn't be right in a sense. Wouldn't make sense. So Deboer comes in from Washington after a national title runner-up season. Yep. How are you feeling about this?
I think it's a good hire. I mean, if I was going to give it a grade, I'd give it an A- personally. Okay. For one simple reason. I think he, when it comes to X's and O's, is probably the best pick. I mean, no coach I don't think there was any coach available in this market who was a better X's and O's guy than Kalen Deboer. I mean, he's shown year after year after year he can win with anything. Problem, I think, is his recruiting. Yes. In his time at Washington, they never even came close to a top 25 class, which is
It was consistently in the 20s at best.
Yeah, it was consistently at the bottom 20s, like 28, 27. It was one of those things where Washington isn't a school that is extremely tough to recruit to. It's not. it's not Minnesota or one of those schools. It's easier to recruit to Washington because you have a West Coast pipeline.
Yeah.
So for him to struggle in the recruiting there is a little scary for me because now you're jumping to a job where you have 10 great white sharks sitting all next to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
all poaching the exact same area.
You have a bunch of just like billionaire tycoons just waiting to pounce on any moment.
Yeah, they're not just ready to pounce on you; they're ready to pummel you if they get the chance.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only thing that scares me about this hire. I think the first year though, we'll see. I mean, when you talk about recruit, I just said recruiting, but like we've been seeing it so far. They can't keep anybody on the roster.
No, and that partly is due to the 30-day window.
Yep.
Where it's pretty much open season for these schools and other schools to just kind of like cherry pick an app from the best branch. You know what I mean? So there's that, which is tough because, but you see this with a lot of coaching hirings and stuff. You see turnover, you see new rosters coming in, and this just happens to be one. He does bring with him, I guess, OC Ryan Grubb, who was interviewed last year for the Alabama OC job. So, Saban had wanted him. So, I mean, that should tell you all you need to know. Ryan Grubb's really good at coordinating. Kalen Deboer is an excellent offensive-minded guy.
Yeah.
He does bring also Scott Huff, who was the offensive line coach there with the Joe Moore winning offensive line. He retains 2 guys from Bama.
Yeah.
And Robert Gillespie, the running backs coach, and then Freddie Roach, the Bama Bama linebackers coach.
Yeah.
He does get a good, solid defensive coordinator spot. Kane Womack, who was the defensive coordinator at South Alabama, knows the area. I think that will help him as far as maybe with recruiting in the South some. I'm not going to say all of it because, but it does help because you kind of get an idea geologically where we are in the region, the players and stuff like that. What are we looking for? He did get Buffalo's head coach, Maurice Linguist, to become the secondary head coach for the defensive backs and stuff. So he's got a solid staff here, but I do worry that not even Deboer. I think Deboer is going to be fine. Are they going to be where Saban is?
Yeah,
probably not. But this is where I've seen on social media and stuff where, as far as Bama fans and their expectations now going forward, they all say like, I feel like they're going to think it's a failure of a tenure for Deboer, even if he chooses to go 9-3 now, go 10-2, maybe 11 or they're playing 10-2, 11-1 maybe, but like I can see a world where it's 9-3s, 10-2s with schedules like they're playing in the SEC now, and it's like, oh, that's a failure because Saban wouldn't have done that, and you're not going to see the top 3 recruiting classes maybe going forward as often. So it's going to be like, well, it's a failure because he's not doing what Saban did, and that to me, then that's a failure. These guys all these people are going to probably just cloud their brain with what Saban did and use that as like the measuring stick. And you can, but it's unfairly to do so because of how big of a measuring stick you'd be using. Yeah. Because he's all the way up here and Deboer's like right now down here. You know what I mean?
You can't even really compare the two.
It's unrealistic.
It's to do so. It's not fair to either guy.
No.
So I think the easiest way to describe it is I think it's a great hire. It's an A- for me just because of the recruiting. But I just think to me it's a sign that, guys, Alabama is not what it's going to be the past 10, 15 years. It's not that every year anymore. They're going to have ebbs and flows. They're going to have years where they're national title contenders. They're going to finish 1 loss in the season. They're going to be incredible. And then the next year they're going to turn around and win 9 games and hope to win 10 by going to a bowl game. You know what I mean?
I will think, though, this upcoming year we could see maybe a bit of a slowdown.
Yeah, I know. I think so this year.
But I do think, if you give Deboer and the staff a full recruiting cycle, you could see, they could pick up right where they left off.
Yeah.
Deboer has found success though recently. Washington a lot through the portal more often than recruiting.
Yeah.
So, if he can just continue to do that, like how he found Michael Penix, if you can find guys like that, those little hidden gems, and bring them to Tuscaloosa, you'll be fine. I know Jabbar Muhammad, the star defensive back from Washington, has a visit set up Friday, I think, at Alabama. Mm-hmm. So, following his head coach wouldn't be out of the realm.
Yeah.
But I do think, I think it's like an A hire. I do agree with you. The recruiting aspect is going to be where it is. I don't doubt him at all that he won't be able to recruit at a high level, but it will be very interesting to see how now, because it's a different game when you're recruiting against, you're recruiting a kid that also LSU and A&M and Georgia and maybe South Carolina, Clemson, all these guys are going against. And now, you're not going up against, Stanford and USC and UCLA now. Like, you're playing with the big boys now a little bit. So it's either gonna, kind of motivate Deboer, I guess. Not that he wouldn't be motivated already, but put a little fire under his belly or his butt and just say, listen, I gotta get going here. Or it's gonna crash and burn and not really gonna ever get back up to where Bama has been with Saban. So we'll move on though to other coaching news around the country. Jedd Fisch takes over at Washington. A little weird of an exit.
Yeah.
They so apparently what had happened after I learned a little bit more about it, I read into it some. A lot of people will look at and there's really no excuse for it, in my opinion, but Jedd Fisch has an exit meeting with the team. It's a 3-minute meeting.
Yeah.
Pretty much just like, hey, I'm leaving. And so pretty much will sum it up right there for you. But you go a little deeper into it, he was offered Arizona had offered him more money and stuff like that. But he chose to decline it and take over a Washington job where he will now have to kind of pick right back up where he left off, I think, momentum-wise. We'll see if he can continue that success he was building in Arizona. Will Rogers is not going to be there. He has entered the portal, so they're going to be kind of fresh start going here. But I think there's two trains of thought to think about with Jedd Fisch here. And one is, you look at Washington heading to the Big Ten, and, that means more money, more TV rights deals, and better chance of maybe recruiting players, because inevitably we're going to get to a world where there's two power conferences, and maybe he just wanted to seize a shot moment where listen, I may not have a better job like this pop up in the future, and where the direction of the sport's going, I'm going to jump on this now, and we're going to see where it goes. Or you could say maybe that, listen, I guess Arizona is still a good place to be. The Big 12 is still going to be a strong conference, but maybe I'm going to try to continue to have success here. Then if something else pops up down the road, we'll go from there. I tend to believe he looked at option A and said, listen, maybe he thought, again, Power 2 conferences are coming. Yeah. Washington is going to be a much bigger brand in the Big 10 than Arizona is in the Big 12. The Big 12 will eventually become, it feels like, in a sense, it's almost become like a group of 5 conference, kind of, in a way.
I see where you're going. I think it's got too many brands to be.
It does, but it just feels like the way that the media and the sport talk about how the direction of college football and how it's only going to be Big 10 versus like SEC. It's just like, those conferences like the ACC and the Big 12 and the American and all the other ones, like, just kind of get left in the dust here. That's where I'm just thinking maybe he thought that and like, listen, again, I'm not going to get a better chance than I am right now. Let's go. Just worst case scenario is I do all right there and they just want to go a different direction. I can always fall back into the other ranks down below.
Yeah. So, my only thing, I think the biggest reason why he left is the pay increase.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I was reading here, he's going to jump from being paid around $3.4 million this next season to $7.5 million.
There you go. Money talks.
Yeah, they gave him a big contract.
The only thing he wasn't able to do is keep or try to maybe wean Noah Fifita away, who was the freshman of the year in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Away. He's going to stay at Arizona, where Brett Brennan will take over. He's the San Jose State head coach that took over at Arizona. I saw something tonight, and it was like, I think it was 9 players in the span of like a half hour from Arizona had all entered the portal.
Yeah.
And in like a half hour span. So, we talk about, and we'll talk about this here in a little, like the open season market. It's just this 30-day window that has allowed these schools to just become like just sitting ducks for other schools to kind of just come in and do whatever they want. Like, again, who has the biggest check? It feels like for some of these players, but other guys, it's just like, I mean, I came here because I like the coach, the relationship I built with them and the other coordinators and stuff like that. They're not here anymore. Why? I don't want to be here. So that it just feels like there's a big mesh of just hot garbage almost in a sense. I don't even know if it's like that, but it's like, kind of see where I'm seeing it going.
No, I get what you're going. I get what you're saying.
Other news going on in coaching ranks. Jim Harbaugh had just finished up his second NFL interview with the Atlanta Falcons. He had one with the Chargers earlier this week, I believe, or last week, one of the two. But how should we? Is that something or nothing? Do you think?
I mean, I think it depends. I was reading earlier about the Jim Harbaugh trying to get immunity from the investigation. That if there is anything, that nothing could happen to his position.
See,
so I think it partially depends on that. Actually,
I was just gonna say, I'm like, if he isn't granted anything, you bet your tail he's gonna head to the NFL. He's taking
that Chargers job
for sure. And you've already seen JJ McCarthy declared for the NFL draft, so he's not going to be back. I know Donovan Edwards is coming back, but when your quarterback who has an extra year of eligibility is heading to the draft, could be a sign for some.
Especially since, either that or he's got somebody in his head telling him things that aren't true.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate to say it, JJ, you're not going in the first round, buddy. You're not a day 1 pick. You're probably a day 3 pick, if we're being honest.
Yeah, you're and that's nothing against JJ McCarthy. We're not an anti-JJ McCarthy.
I'm not anti-JJ McCarthy.
We are the anti-crowd that compares JJ McCarthy to high-end QBs that will be going in the first round.
It's the thing. It's like I feel like I'm looking out for you, JJ.
Yeah.
Like when I'm saying
we're pro JJ McCarthy.
When I'm saying you're not going in the first round, I'm trying to be realistic with you. Is like, don't expect to be getting paid like a big NFL. You might make the practice squad because you just have not shown it yet that you can be like a star yet. I mean, we went to a JJ McCarthy rant in the middle of a completely different subject, but at the same time, it's like, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, I really hope that guy decides to pull a Cam Ward and just comes back.
Well, so with Cam Ward, and that's in later segment, but he never hired an agent. He just made a video and said, "Hey, I'm heading to the draft." Never hired an agent, so he was still able to come back. But I think it could be something like you said with the him trying to get immunity for this investigation. I would be shocked, not even shocked. I would be somewhat surprised. I'm going to dial back a little bit if he did choose to come back. At some point, though, if you're Michigan, I mean, it's got to be a little annoying that we're doing this again. Seriously. Yeah. Where's the commitment level?
I thought they put into his contract something.
I don't think they ever have yet gave him an extension. They were working on a deal.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what it was. I was wondering what it was.
I think they were trying to do something where he has to within the first year or two, can't seek out any NFL jobs or something like that. But it's I mean, if I'm Harbaugh, why would I want to do that when I know they would probably pay me more in the NFL? Yeah. And I know these schools are floated, but start NFL organization. So, I mean, who's to say maybe he – and I know Harbaugh has expressed his frustration some with the way the sport's going. Maybe he's tired of that stuff and wants to go back to the pros and deal where he doesn't have to be on the recruiting trail 24/7. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's what I wonder if it is too. Is it the recruiting?
I mean, it has to be like the NILs. There's no the zero there's no guardrails with transferring and NIL and all that fun stuff. So if nobody's going to fix it, well, I don't want to continue to just be caught in the crossroads. So he's like, listen, I'm just going to go back to watching videos of people and not having to. The only recruiting I'm doing is calling them to see if they want to be on my team. You know what I mean? So one other coaching news: Travaris Robinson, a coordinator. He was the defensive backs coach at Alabama, long time under Saban.
Yeah,
it's kind of a funny one. He joins Georgia. Kirby Smart goes out and gets Travaris Robinson, and on the day, he comes to have him join as the co-defensive coordinator and the defensive backs coach at Georgia.
Yeah.
A day later, Kalen Deboer brings Travaris Robinson in to interview for the full-time solo job, DC job. And the next day or two, I think after it comes out, this is all before the press introductory press meeting.
Yeah.
For Deboer in Alabama. And Travaris Robinson decides he's going to stay at Georgia. A massive, massive hit for Georgia's coaching staff because now Will Muschamp will get moved to the analysis, defensive analyst, where he'll be able to not be as full-time. He'll just get this more time with his family. But it'll still be Glenn Schumann and now Robinson running the co-defensive coordinator spot while I think Schumann will still be going to linebackers and Robinson the defensive backs. But a big time hit especially now with someone very special in the portal who just entered it today. But listen, these guys are all master recruiters around that area, and we're talking about guys. And that
guys who dominate the area, to be honest.
Dominate. I saw something that between the five of them, or four, between Smart, Robinson, Schumann, and Muschamp, between the four of them, they've combined for over 25 5-stars commitments. So they know what they're doing, and now you can use that as a weapon. I mean, Smart was playing chess, not checkers, feels like, So, I mean, a legit huge time pickup. I mean, the USC, they got the defensive backs coach from USC also become the quarterbacks coach over here. He's really good on the recruiting trail. So now you're going to have all these guys just going at it. It's like just the juggernaut continues to roll. So, but yeah, we'll move on though to, I think the biggest topic of the night that we can get into. It's the open season, how I keep referring to that here. We
slightly went into this a little bit ago, but let's get right into it, man.
Yeah. So Alabama and Washington, how there's this 30-day period where and as soon as a coaching change happens or either retires, fires, anything like that, as soon as there's something sort of change, that portal window opens up for 30 days and it gives the players a chance to exit, stay, do whatever. But it also gives teams like Florida State, Georgia, Miami, Texas A&M, Texas, all of these guys, Tulane, they've been doing some work to come in.
I saw that. Yeah, you see that.
They do a little bit of this, and they say, why don't you come over here now?
Yeah.
And Bama, we'll start with Washington. Washington, 15 transfers out. Only 7 have been in since the coaching change. Notable names, Jabbar Muhammad and Will Rogers among the biggest ones. Bama transfers 26 out. Notable names, Seth McLaughlin, Ohio State, going to Ohio State now. He was the center. Earl Little to FSU. Malik Benson, FSU. Roydell Williams, FSU. Isaiah Bond, Texas. Des Ricks, Texas A&M. Kendrick Blackshire, Blackshear, Texas. Ja'Cory Brooks, Louisville. 3 players that have yet to commit anywhere. That would be Trey Amos, Mari Nyblack, and Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs, the biggest one out of all of them. He is the number 1 right now recruit in the portal. He just entered it today. There was rumors when Travaris Robinson left that you could possibly see something there. And here we go. I mean, he's already been crystal balled for Georgia. It would be an absolute masterful hit if the Dogs could get him, because if they got him, they would seal Downs, Starks, Malachi Starks, and KJ Bolden. Those 3, Bolden, Downs, and Starks would be the consecutive top 3 safeties in the state of Georgia. All would be on one team. So talk about a loaded, just the rich get richer there, but that would be insane. But just in general, I mean, Florida State's got 4 guys now. I mean, Texas took up Isaiah Bond. I mean, it's open season for some of these big-time guys that are all leaving. That was just a couple of them. There's some other ones in there as well. Tulane. There's a guy just committed to Auburn. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know how you feel about the window.
Look, I mean, there's been a lot of hate for it, but to be honest with you, I don't know a way you could do it differently.
No.
Like, legitimately, you have to have some sort of way. If the coaches can leave that easily, like Jedd Fisch gave his team 3 minutes and he was gone.
Yeah.
You can't let head coaches do that and then the players have to be stuck where they are. It's not fair to the players. It's not fair to the program. It's not even fair to the incoming coach, but like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, that's why I don't feel crazy sympathy for sometimes, is it sometimes a little questionable for some players to leave when they, they had much better opportunity of playing time, they stayed. But again, if you're a coach and you're able to just leave whenever, why aren't players allowed to? You know what I mean? So I give them every right to do so. Is it a little just bad timing for like Alabama and Washington? It does pin them a little bit because now that the portal technically is closed, they can't really do much.
Yeah.
They kind of just have to wait and just try their best to keep some of these guys. But I mean, I saw a great video and I was talking to Dylan about this on Twitter today. Aaron Murray said, Bama fans are experiencing something that most of college football has dealt with for years now. And it's the fact that players, a lot of times, unless you grew up being a diehard fan, if Dylan grows up being a Florida State fan and only wants to go to Florida State, he's going to go to Florida State, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if Dylan grows up being a Florida State fan and is really good at football, and Alabama's knocking on their door, or I don't know, we'll get a better one, or like if Oregon's knocking on his door, and you build a great connection with Dan Lanning and all that. It's the relationships you build with the coaches and the staff that get most of these players there. And like most of these guys, they care maybe a little bit about the tradition and stuff, but these guys don't care about the schools and stuff like that. And like, just sticking out the 4 years and, putting their time in to show the pride and all that fun stuff, loyalty now. These guys, no, you go there because you developed a great friendship and a great relationship with those coaching staff. It may not even be the head coach. It could be the OC. It could be a staff member that really was there for you on the recruiting trail, and you love them. And when they leave or get fired, you have no business being there.
Yeah,
I can tell you where I work. If all of my managers just got fired, and I don't want to work there, more likely than not.
Yeah.
So, it's a really strong tale to say that these guys were going to Bama because Nick Saban was there, and that's no indictment. Nick Saban's the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah,
but that's exactly why they went there, because they wanted to get recruited to the best place where they knew they could go improve their skills win a national championship if possible, and get drafted.
Yeah.
And that was a great spot to be. So now you're seeing, as soon as he leaves, just like now, rest of college football, you're going to get stuck with all these guys exiting out the door because they want to go to where now the next best relationship or coach finds them. Now mixed in with a little NIL, of course, but that's how I see it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, to me, the biggest thing is that it's all about the relationship. For sure. I mean, that's the reason people are so confused as to why there's so many Alabama guys jumping. None of these Alabama guys, as weird as it is to say, really came for the logo on their uniform. They came to be coached under Nick Saban. Exactly. The second you take Nick Saban out of that, they have zero relationship to that university, to the football program. Their relationship is with the previous staff.
Most of these guys, guess what? Newsflash, they don't give back to the school.
Yeah.
They may go and watch a game or two every once in a while, but they don't.
Yeah.
They're going there to play football and get drafted. That's all.
The only guys you will see who really are all about that are the guys who either won a big award, like a Heisman Trophy winner, will never shut up about their school, right? But any of the guys who you'll see who are just traditional first-round picks, all-pro, all-American, all SEC guys, those guys don't. Those guys are there to get drafted. That's the biggest thing on their mind.
Yeah, and I'm not. I mean, and yes,
that's not an indictment against how Nick Saban runs his program.
No, and it's not an indictment either. I don't think on the players. I'm just saying personally. I'm just saying, listen, they will show pride for their school, maybe all they want, but I can tell you, probably majority of them are saying, I got here because Nick Saban wanted me here.
Yeah,
he really, believed in me in recruiting when I was in high school, and I trusted him. I came here, I did what he told me was going to happen, and now I'm drafted. So
yeah,
but as soon as he's not here anymore, so I'm going to go somewhere else. But we'll move on though to FSU here, because FSU's doing some work in the portal.
Yeah, they are.
I was looking at some rankings today, just in general, doing a lot of work. I mean, it feels like they're picking off a new Bama guy every other day.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Either in the portal or just in the recruiting rankings.
Yeah,
they have four guys.
They
have four guys from Bama,
left and right,
for sure. And then they picked up Richie Leonard from Florida the other day, a lineman, Devontae Brown from Miami, DJ Uyunglele from Oregon State. Like, they are taking some guys here. They got a guy from West Virginia who is also coming. Mike Norvell keeps on rolling here.
I thought the Richie Leonard stuff was so funny because I don't know if you saw, but like Gator fans on Twitter were losing their minds over that commitment.
I don't think it probably was as bad as the ETN to Georgia.
No. But like there were guys who
they
were
want
saying
to crucify here, but
they were mad.
Well, I think it's also funny because Richie Leonard's has 1 year left of eligibility, and he just chose to go to Florida State and a year at Florida. But again, like I said, going back to last topic, these guys do not care about rivalries. This isn't the early 2000s anymore. This isn't the 90s and 80s where like if you played for, Auburn, you wanted to kill people from Bama. You know what I mean? Like, these guys do not care anymore. We just had an Alabama guy commit to Auburn.
Yep.
It is what it is now. Guess what? Yeah, but it is kind of funny though. Richie Leonard, Trevor Etienne goes to Georgia. I mean, these guys don't could care less about rivalries. All they want to go to the best place they can want to win, and kudos to them. Does this place any higher expectations now with Florida State going into the season, or it should be like right where we left off?
I think we should be right where we left off. I mean, they're more grabbing guys to replace than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Less than not to say they're not upgrading. I think there's some guys where they've upgraded, but more than anything, I think they've just been replacing guys and adding depth more than anything.
Is there any key roster position wise that they still need to maybe look at filling in, big concern, question marks going in to next season, you think?
I think they've actually done really well addressing it. I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe a little bit, maybe another wide receiver. That's the biggest thing. I mean, they've added so many guys, though. It's like crazy. They've added quarterbacks for depth, and they got a commitment out of a 3-star quarterback from the Elite 11.
Okay, there you go.
You know, as a walk-on too. So like,
there you go.
Not even wasting a scholarship on.
Nice. Yeah, listen, I expect Florida State to kind of be right back onto where they were last year.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the new playoff rules coming in, they would be fine, more than fine. But we'll see how they, if they can continue to build off of, you know, prior seasons. I think Norvell's done a good job at that as of last couple of years, where, you know, it's not just like a one and done, kind of like a, you know, lightning in a bottle type season where, you know, 10-3 is awesome, but then it's like back to like 7-6 or something like that the year after. You know, he keeps on building up. Yeah. So, I mean, to be fair, he kind of went as far as you could.
I mean, but like next year with the 12 team, it's like if Mike Norvell and Florida State wins the ACC again, it's like, well, you know, you're in.
Florida State pretty much got up to a mountaintop and got to the peak, and they were about to plant the flag and say, "This is our mountain."
Yeah.
And then like a bird or a bulldog came and just knocked them off and just sent them flying down. In like tragic fashion. So kind of funny. They just kind of said, well, I guess no. Well, they sent like their like the other guys on the trip climbing the mountain, sadly just weren't able to make it. And so the last guy standing was like the backup kicker, and he just got pummeled.
Yeah.
But yeah, I expect Norvell to get right back to where it is, and it does give a good question, I guess, for maybe a later episode or something. But like looking at like, you know, hypotheticals down the road and stuff, as far as like, you know, ACC goes with Florida State, you know, is if you win, say if you know, or let's say they lose their conference championship.
Yeah.
That means, let's say that costs them a bye. So they end up having to play. So you play 12 games in the season. And they lose. They go 12-1. But they're a 5 seed. So they don't get a bye, which means you got to play 1, 2, 4 games, right, to win a title.
Yes.
So that would be 16 games, 16, 17 games, if I'm doing that right.
Yeah.
To where you got to win a title. Do you just consider do you think you start seeing teams that, let's say like the Florida State, you know, let's say the 12 team is this year and Florida State's kind of just hobbling in, it almost feels like a quarterback and stuff like that. Do you think they just rest everybody and going,
I can see it happen.
We have to play an extra game anyway. Why not? We'll just rest our guys. Or we'll rest our guys going in at some point at the end of the year because we know we got to do something. That we got to play more games later on here.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been definitely something that you could have seen. And I do expect teams like that to going forward where resting guys will definitely happen.
Yeah.
You'll start seeing what they do in the NFL where end of the season comes, like, they don't care. You know what I mean? They're going to rest them, get them ready for a conference championship game, or even just getting ready for the playoffs. So
yeah.
But we'll move on though. We're just kind of breezing along here. We're getting into transfer portal news. Make sure you guys are subscribing though.
Yes.
Continue to subscribe, guys. The viewership's been solid. That's always appreciated. But make sure you guys, if you're brand new or you're just watching and not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so that we can continue to grow the channel for you guys. That's why we do it. Man, especially here in the off season. We don't like to use that word around here, but you know, certainly in the non-college football playing season, you know, we'll definitely have a lot of stuff to talk about. and keep you guys entertained. But make sure you guys are subscribed while doing it and listening on Spotify if you can't watch us on YouTube, as always. All right, we're going to get right here in the transfer portal here as we are coming to last couple topics here on tonight's show. Some portal news. Mario Williams, Tulane. He was one of the USC's good, solid receivers.
Yeah.
He was probably in line to have a nice breakout year going forward. So Tulane, nice pickup there.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward is the big one. He a couple weeks ago declared for the draft in a 10-second video, but he never hired an agent. So he now retracted that and is going to Miami, where a lot of people thought he was going to go. So now Miami pulls in 2 guys out of the portal. So they definitely have options.
Yeah.
And but obviously Cam Ward will probably start, and he'll get a great first test of where he wants to be for NFL scouts, as he gets to go to the swamp week 1. So, it's always a tough test for new quarterbacks, especially if it's a night game. But nice pickup there for Miami. I expect Cam Ward to succeed with what Chris Paul's building down there. And because remember, Miami, a lot of young guys played this year. Yeah, a lot of them. Majority of their starting rotation, like especially on defense, were freshmen and young sophomores. So they are growing into their position. A lot of you get the early mistakes out, but now you got a lot of reps doing so. So they should be a very improved team going forward. But I feel like we say that all the time about Miami. But I do think this year,
I think we have been saying it for like a decade.
Almost been kind of waiting for them to prove us wrong. So I do think this could be a possible nice little season here. Cristobal, he gets the 7 wins. Again, he building off of better than what he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a big breakout year, I think, coming up for Miami. Yeah. Could see maybe a year where 9-10 wins, maybe. Not out of the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if he can do that. Otherwise, Miami fans will get mad at him and they'll probably want him out. So, but Jabbar Muhammad, like I said earlier, he has visits to Texas and Alabama. Tolia Tagovailoa, his NCAA waiver got denied, so he has to go to the draft.
I said it. I remember saying it on the show that I think it's going to get denied because look, there's really no argument that he could make. He played in 5 games.
Yeah, and I think it's funny is like Bama and like Saban were sending letters saying listen, just you should give it to him, heavily supporting him and say, nope, we're not feeling it.
No,
just not feeling it today. So he has to go to the draft. A little unfortunate because he probably is not, where he wants to be, I think, as a prospect. So, but we'll see where the cards or the chips fall, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Bond, we talked about earlier, he's going to Texas. Robbie Ashford, the split quarterback at Auburn, because they ran a 2-quarterback system all year for some stupid reason. And he's going to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Because Spencer Rattler will not be there anymore. So let's see if Shane Beamer rolls with Ashford. He's got talent, a lot of raw talent, really good with his legs. Still needs to work on being a passer.
Mm-hmm.
But he has that dual threat ability with his legs for sure. So we'll see how Shane Beamer uses that going into next year. And Evan Stewart, the big receiver out of A&M, hit the portal a couple weeks ago. He officially committed to Oregon. So the Ducks get another big weapon to add along for Dylan Gabriel and company to hopefully show out next year in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But that's a big get for Dan Lanning and company for sure. But yeah, any other transfer news you know of? I
haven't seen anything else yet. I've not seen anything else yet. I was going through right now checking to see if there's anything.
I know I've been keeping an eye out for the some more Bama news whenever it drops. Mm-hmm. But I don't think anything. I think it's held steady here the last couple hours. So,
I mean, a little bit of news. It's kind of interesting. Next year, Georgia, Alabama, right?
Yes.
Georgia is favored right now, which would snap Alabama's 110-game home odds favorite streak.
110 games in a row?
110 home games in a row.
Jeez, what's the line right now?
I think it's like 3.
Ooh, that's a nice.
Yeah,
I got numbers right there.
Yeah,
juicy number right there.
Yeah, Georgia's a 3-point favorite. Yep,
that will be what a welcome moment for Deboer. That's his first SEC game. You get a home game, but it's a night game with Georgia coming to town.
Mm-hmm.
And Georgia, and I keep thinking about this. I'm like, they have this. You might see like a Sherman's March, Civil War style, just burning and just taking out anything in their path next year. Like they proved a point against Florida State by all means, but who they play, just regardless.
I get what you said. Yeah,
I watched them come out of that tunnel, and I'm just looking. They had bad intentions, and I might have said a word that's not allowed for this program, but I just said, listen, these guys, they are not messing around right now.
Yeah,
and pretty much. So that'll be a good game for sure. Mm-hmm. Who Bama has planned? That'll be a great question. But we'll keep an eye on those. We'll get into hypothetical odds, the early odds and lines down the road next couple episodes or so.
Yeah,
stretch things out as we like to do here in the non-playing football part of the season. So we're going to move into the final topic here of tonight's show, and that is hot questions. No winners and losers of the week because it's
kind of hard to do that right now.
The only loser, I guess, would be Bama. And the winner would be anybody.
Bama,
Georgia, and Florida State, maybe.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we could be like, "Oh, Bama's the winner because they hired a good head coach," but they're also the loser because they have no players.
For sure. Well, actually, loser Jedd Fisch's goodbye speech.
That was bad, yeah. But I feel like that's not Jedd. That's every single person who's ever attended the University of Arizona is a loser for that. You know what I mean?
Kalen Deboer is possibly his introductory team meeting speech because a lot of the guys that are in the portal now were there at that meeting. So
I do want to say before we get into it, how much money would you put down that Jedd Fisch, current head coach of the Washington Huskies, ends up in Gainesville next year? Mind you, he is a Florida alum.
Not much. And the only reason why I say that is I saw just a tweet from a Florida guy who ran into Scott Strickland, the AD here, at a basketball game. And I guess he had asked him about, how much time can we give a Napier? And pretty much that's how it went. And Strickland said, listen, if you give a coach time, he's bound to succeed, pretty much along those lines.
Yeah, but I don't think Strickland his job.
Does that mean that I just don't think that he's going to get fired after next year? What I took away there is he's not going to get fired.
No, I get that, but at the same time, they have a brutal schedule.
Yes,
and it doesn't ever at any point get easy.
No, there's a legit shot after UCF they could lose the remaining part of their schedule, which includes LSU, Georgia, Florida State, Ole Miss, and Texas.
Yeah.
So,
not to mention Miami's getting better by the hour.
They got to play these quarterbacks, and it's Cam Ward, KJ Jefferson, Connor Wegman, or let's try to go in order here. Cam Ward, KJ Jefferson, Sanford, and then it's Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart, Connor Wegman, Carson Beck, Garrett Nussmeier, DJ Uyunglele, Brock Vandergriff. So those are just some I know.
That's brutal. That is brutal.
Oh, for sure. Do I think they could sneak in a couple? Yeah. Mississippi State. Who's quarterback down there? Forget the quarterback will be in Mississippi State, but you're gonna have to face them. But I keep thinking Napier's gonna have to try to win 6 or 7 to give the fan base some sort of hope. I realistically, and I don't want to be a downer, but legitly. I mean, there's a path where they win maybe 3 games.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't think he keeps his job if they win 3 games.
That would be worst case scenario. Realistically,
I think if they lose to UCF, there's a chance he gets fired the next day.
Listen, KJ Jefferson went in there last year or this past season in Arkansas.
Exactly, and UCF's not a bad squad.
No,
they are the only new Big 12 team that actually made a bowl game. And in my opinion, they just improved.
Yeah,
they have a top 10 transfer team.
Yeah, so I mean, they what I think they're gonna go is, and you can clip this and post this. I mean, be my guest. I think they're gonna win 4 games. Personally speaking, you can't tell me they're gonna win right now. You can't tell me they're gonna beat. I can tell you right now, they're not gonna beat Ole Miss. They're not gonna beat Texas. They're not gonna beat Georgia. They're not gonna beat LSU. They're not gonna beat Florida State. That's 5 losses right there.
Yeah. And the way it's going, I don't think
you get
Miami.
Miami's at home, UCF's at home, Sanford's at home. Miami's a toss-up. I'm going to lean Florida. I'm going to lean UCF, and I'm going to lean Sanford. That's 3 wins. Florida
until Miami got Cam Ward. I think that leans me Miami now.
I'm going to give them the win, Miami. I'm going to give them UCF, and I'm going to give them Sanford. That's 3 wins. You have remaining then. If we're giving everyone else losses, that's you have Kentucky, Mississippi State, and another team. But do they beat Kentucky? No.
I don't think they beat Kentucky. I mean, maybe.
Here we go.
I don't know.
I don't like how we just kind of got off the rails here. And then again, this is not promoting anti-Florida. We are just looking at the state of the program.
We're just being real.
Oh, Texas A&M. Connor Williams. So, all right, in order again: Miami win, Sanford win, A&M. I'm going to give them a loss. That's at home too. Mississippi State at Mississippi State.
I give them the win.
Okay, so we're 3-1 going into UCF. 4-1.
Yeah, we could say 4-1.
4-1, and then you're at Tennessee. Oh, that's Nico.
Yeah, I think they lose that game.
So
they lost last time they played at Tennessee too.
4-2. You get Kentucky at home.
Yeah.
Win or loss?
I think they'd lose again.
4-3, and then you get the bye, and then it becomes ready. Jacksonville, Georgia.
They get blown out.
4-3. Or before you said 4-3.
I think 4.
Yeah, no, 4-4.
Yeah,
at that point. Texas
loss.
4-5. LSU
loss.
Ole Miss
loss.
Florida State
loss. That's a bad. That entire end of the schedule.
Bye week. By Kentucky, bye week.
They play Murderers Row. Like they play like the 1912 Yankees. Like it's like ridiculous after that.
Yeah. So, but 4 wins is what I see. But regardless, we're not on Florida right now. We're talking about hot questions. We got 3 of them tonight. Number 1, how dangerous is Ohio State next year? JT Tuimoloau's coming back. Jack Sawyer's coming back. They just brought in Quinshon Judkins from the portal. Match him up with Travion Anderson, who's coming back. He brought in Will Howard. Emmanuel Abuka's coming back. You're going to get your guys on the outside still. How dangerous is this team, Dylan?
I mean, I think they could easily. I think it all depends on Michigan.
They will get Michigan at Ohio State too this year.
That doesn't make a difference for me personally. But if Jim Harbaugh is still the coach at Michigan, I think Michigan wins again. And I think that's the problem with Ohio State.
Scale of like 1 we'll give it 1 to 5. 5 being like super confident.
That Michigan would win?
No, that Ohio State. Like, how dangerous do you think they are?
I think Ohio State would be 5 being the most dangerous, right?
Yeah.
5.
I'm going to say like a 4, but yeah. I mean, they're
as good as they've ever been. I mean, minus the CJ Stroud, right? But it's just Michigan's in their way.
It does. And now, it does give them some leeway, though, with the playoff expanding. Again, this is a lot of these teams. You're going to see this. These teams are going to have some now leeway to lose a game or two. And still compete for a national championship. And Ohio State could be this if they run into Michigan. Now, if a Ryan Day Ohio State-led team loses to Michigan for the 4th straight year in a row, and then they don't do anything after that, he may be seeing his final goodbyes. because I can tell you right now they will not stand for that. That's just me though. But right now, dangerous wise, preseason, like looking at them right now, they're as dangerous as anybody. I would rank them a top 3 team in the country.
Yeah, so, I think so too. They'll probably be number 3.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do a top 10 maybe next week.
We'll do a top 10 next week or later.
Yeah, we'll have each other do a top 10. We'll top 10, and we'll just talk about that. But next question here: does the 30-day window rule hurt college football?
I really don't think it does, personally. I understand the argument of it, but my whole thing is that it's to benefit the kids, right?
Yeah.
And it helps those kids.
Yes.
That's what the rule's made for, and that's what it does, and it does help. Obviously, it sucks for the team that's losing all these guys right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. It sucks. They can't get guys. But that's just like there isn't a clear solution to the problem. And if you don't have a clear solution, I don't understand the point of making it out to be the issue that it is. Like, if there's no clear solution to the issue, then it's like, all right, we kind of just got to leave it where it is. And I think it's more beneficial than it is hurtful.
I don't think it's that hurtful because if you're allowing coaches to leave whenever, this is the kind of like the, that eye for an eye, you go code of Hammurabi here and say, listen, you want to leave? That's fine. But now your program's going to see a nice little, is going to get hurt too, in a sense. Yeah. I don't know, hurt, but like, you're going to see a lot of guys leave, and they have every right to do so because if you're leaving, they can leave. So, again, it goes back to whole relationship things, but I don't see how you can fix it because, they're just they're just trying to do what's best for them in a sense. Mm-hmm. And is it okay to be a little selfish there? Yeah. College is just a bridge to get to the NFL for most of these guys. So, yes, getting an education is great. But also going and play in the NFL is too. So they want to go, if they think Alabama's not where it needs to be now, they'll go to Texas. They'll go to Georgia. They'll go to Ole Miss or Oregon or whatever. That is what it is. So, all right, last question here before we wrap things up here tonight. Are you concerned about Kalen Deboer, not having full control with Nick Saban still being around the program? They've already announced Nick Saban's going to take on more of like an analyst kind of spot or just something where he's going to have an office at Bryant Denny. Mm-hmm. Are you worried that like he's going to still have his fingerprints on and not really let Deboer be, fully run the program? Yeah,
I understand the fear, and to a degree, I wonder if that's a reason why coaches said no, because I think we both know. Kalen Deboer is not the first guy they talked to. They obviously talked to a bunch of people just because that's what you do in a coaching search. You don't actually offer the job until you get 100% that somebody will say yes. Mm-hmm. So I think to a degree, I really wonder if Nick Saban is really given a decent amount of control, I think it could be a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, if he kind of takes on like what Bruce Arians does, Tampa Bay Bucks, and just kind of drives his golf cart around and says,
that's perfect.
Talks to the guys, be my guest.
That's great.
But
if he just goes on recruiting visits and says, hey, go to Alabama, that's perfect for them.
But I think a little bit where, maybe because
sitting in like the coach's like office every day and they're talking game play, like plans, I would not be like, I feel like that's not good.
No. And maybe Saban, who I've heard may take on more of a do some like TV role. That'll keep him occupied, and maybe he just wants to be around, maybe as like a mentor, maybe just hang around with the players and stuff. Like, that's fine. I mean, but maybe it's just kind of like leaves like an open office to where, because he lives in Florida most of the time too. So, maybe if he just wants to come up to Tuscaloosa, he has a spot. Yeah. But yeah, it does feel weird though. Like there's something weird like that. Mm-hmm. it's almost going to be he may have to run like checkpoints, run it through the big guy. You know what I mean? Would Saban do this? Maybe a lot of people might say like, oh, Saban may not do this. You know what I mean? So why are we doing this? He just could be – maybe he may not ever – maybe it goes like that, and a couple years from now he talks in like an interview or something like that and just says, listen, I was never able to really have full control, never really was able to do what I wanted to do because they kind of stuck in their own ways a little bit. Can I feel that, or – what do you think?
No, I can't. Yeah, no, I get. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, I mean, I would feel horrible for Deboer if it was like a situation where Nick Saban is required to be in all coaching meetings or something like that by the university.
And I don't think so because I think
I would hope
Deboer was probably told ahead of time, like, listen, it's gonna be your team. You know, you're bringing on your staff and doing all your stuff, so you don't have anything to worry about. But yeah, it's definitely something to maybe think about a little bit. But what I'm going to be thinking about is getting some sleep because we have run our course here on tonight's episode.
After midnight.
Fix my camera here, and it keeps going in and out. I see it in the corner of my eyes. I'm talking. I'm like, did it again, but fixed it again. So make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast. Like I said. The number for subscribers has stayed at 80 for a little while now. So let's make sure you guys, if you're new, like I said, subscribe. Has no harm to you, and it only benefits us because, you know, we get to produce more stuff and get it out to you guys so more eyes can see it.
Yeah.
Like I said, so we'll be back next week with another edition of College Football Talk. And, can't wait to see what happens here. I'm sure we'll have some transfer portal news. I expect some of these bigger names to kind of start closing down, making decisions soon, especially with the academic season starting up and school, the spring semester starting up. So you start seeing some bigger names finding landing spots sooner rather than later. Quick thoughts real quick on Colorado coach Deion Sanders letting his kids go to Paris Fashion Week instead of missing the first team meetings.
I mean, I don't care. I don't know about you, like I'm like whatever. That's just the program. That's what happens there.
There you go. That was Dylan's thoughts as we close out episode 61 of College Football Talk. For Hunter, and there's Dylan. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
See you guys.